Okay, so I'm going to talk to you today about how a trust works and the benefits of having a trust. Now, a trust is a legal entity that is governed by what's called a trust deed. It's a document that sets out the responsibilities of the trustee. It sets out how income comes into the trust. It sets out how much the trust can borrow. It has all the rules and regulations. So the trust deed is the document that governs how the trust operates. Now, the key people involved in a trust, now there's three key people. There's the settlor, there's the trustee, and then there's beneficiaries. Now, the settlor is the person who establishes or sets up the trust to begin with. Once they've done that, they're usually not cited again with regard to the trust. It's just that initial setting up piece. The next group of people are called trustees. Now, the trustees are the people who are responsible for managing the assets of the trust. Now, they can also be a company. So you could have individuals or a specific individual, or you could have a company as the trustee, and they manage the assets of the trust. The third group of people are called beneficiaries, and the beneficiaries are the people who receive the benefits from the trust. Now, for most people, the attraction of a trust is what are the benefits? Now, there are a number of benefits, but there's two major benefits. The two major benefits are what's called asset protection, and the second one is income distribution. Now, income distribution, you should also think tax minimization legally done. And it's probably the most attractive feature. So I'll briefly go over those. So asset protection, what does this mean? Asset protection means if, for example, let's say you had a business as a plumber or an electrician or, something where you're out working with the public and there was a bit of risk involved. So it might be that you do a job, something goes wrong, and then they want to sue you. What a trust does, it's similar to a company in this respect, is if you're operating your business through the trust, then if something goes wrong, you're not necessarily going to be personally sued for it. So that allows you to protect your personal assets, things like your family home, other properties or shares or other things you may own. If you operate your business through a trust, you can then protect those assets. I mean, if you're operating as a sole trader, every day that you go to work, you're risking all of your assets. There is the potential for something to go wrong and you to be personally sued, and then you're putting your house at risk every day. You don't have to do this. The other way you could do it is the reverse of that. You might operate your business in your own name and then have your investments inside of a trust. So let's say you were building a share portfolio. You could put the shares inside the trust, and then if you were sued personally, the shares aren't at risk because they are sitting inside of the trust. So that's what asset protection means. It means separating out your assets so that if you were to be sued, only the assets of the particular entity or individual that's being sued are at risk, and you can protect, your family wealth in that way. Now, the main reason people set up trusts is because of the income splitting and the tax benefits. What that looks like is that you can distribute income to various family members on lower tax brackets. Now, just to do a rough example, and I'm using rough numbers, so don't hold me on the exact numbers, but let's say you had a business and you were earning, let's say $500,000 in the business, you had $350,000 worth of expenses, and you had $150,000 profit at the end of the day. Now, if you were doing that as a sole trader, that income would all come to you and you would pay tax on the $150,000. Now, the tax on $150,000, it's roughly about $50,000 or $60,000 or thereabouts. So you're going to be up for $50,000 or $60,000 in tax. Now, if you're operating as a trust and you're operating your business through a trust, and it is a business, what you can do is you can distribute that money out. So let's say in the case of a husband and wife operating the business through a trust, you could split that out 75-75. And the $150,000 profit could go $75,000 to each person. Now the tax on that is roughly about $20,000. So it'd be $20,000 per person, total of $40,000 versus $50,000 or $60,000 earning it all as one person. So that could save you $10,000 to $20,000 a year in tax. Again, rough numbers only. And now, if you're in the situation where you have, say, adult kids going to university, the benefit of a trust there could be that if the kids are not earning any money, you could split that. Let's say you had 3 kids at university, you could split that money out and pay $30,000 to each family member. That $150,000 split 5 ways, 30 to each family member. The tax on $30,000 is about $5,000. So I think it's even less these days. It's, let's say, $5,000 for rough numbers. So then the total tax that would be payable would be $25,000 versus, remember what we said at the start, if it's you only, it would be $50,000 to $60,000. So you'd be paying $25,000 rather than $50,000 to $60,000 per year. So it's a $25,000 to $35,000 tax saving in that case. Now, it's important that this is structured properly because it is actually legal what I'm talking about. You can legally reduce your tax significantly by taking these steps, but there are certain steps that have got to be in place to have it. There's a further tax benefit that if you owned an asset in a trust and that asset was then sold and you made a capital gain, you can get those same income splitting advantages where you distribute the capital gain down to the lowest income earning person. But it's really important that these things are set up properly from the start, that you're making sure that you're doing everything properly. That's where we come in. That's where we can help you. If you have any more questions on, how to form a trust or is a trust going to be beneficial in your particular situation, just get in contact with me. I'll be happy to help. This is a device that a lot of our clients are using to massively reduce their tax bill. They're saving the money. It allows them to invest more or pay for kids' education or take families on holidays or pay off the mortgage, whatever you want. It keeps the money in your pocket and away from the tax man.